Hello and welcome. I'm Blair Blackwell, and this is the Daily Cyber Brief. Here's today's rundown of the biggest cybersecurity stories you need to know today. Good morning. This is the Daily Cyber Brief for Monday, January 5th. Here are the risks shaping today's session. Fresh pressure on identity gateways, phishing that rides trusted cloud infrastructure, and the long tail of a high-profile password vault breach still draining crypto wallets. Following on from last week's notes on appliance weaknesses, a reminder with new numbers. Researchers say more than 10,000 internet-exposed Fortinet firewalls remain vulnerable to an old two-factor authentication bypass that's still being actively exploited. It's a clear signal that identity edges, especially network appliances that haven't seen recent maintenance windows, continue to be prime targets. Meanwhile, attackers are abusing a Google Cloud email integration feature to send highly convincing messages that look like legitimate system notifications. By piggybacking on trusted cloud infrastructure, these phishing waves gain deliverability and credibility, raising risks for single sign-on prompts, password resets, and workflow approvals. The theme here is simple. Trust signals are being co-opted, so email that appears from Google isn't always what it seems. On the breach fallout front, TRM Labs ties ongoing cryptocurrency thefts back to the 2022 LastPass incident, noting that stolen vault data is still being worked years later to crack and drain wallets, with funds laundered for Russian exchanges. The lesson is durability. When secrets are exposed, attackers take the long view, and the window of exploitation can span multiple years. There's also a cautionary note about what's happening inside the network perimeter. Krebs on Security details the Kim Wolf botnet, leveraging a widely exploited weakness for months, with a blunt takeaway. Assumptions about the safety of internal networks behind consumer and small office routers are outdated. The line between internet-facing and local devices is thin when botnets can traverse both. In targeted campaigns, Transparent Tribe is back with a new remote access Trojan aimed at Indian government and academic entities. The operators continue to rely on deceptive lures, in this case, shortcut files disguised as PDFs, to establish persistent control of endpoints. It's a reminder that state-aligned actors pair low-friction social engineering with quietly capable malware. And in healthcare, Covenant Health has revised the impact of its May breach to nearly 478,000 patients, underscoring the scale of personal data exposure and the prolonged life cycle of notifications and remediation in the sector. Looking ahead, expect continued probing of legacy Fortinet appliances on public IPs and more cloud-backed phishing as criminals refine templates that mimic legitimate automated messages. Watch for additional wallet drain reports tied to the LastPass cache, and further research on botnets that blur the boundary between home, branch, and corporate networks. What I'll be watching today: identity providers and firewall gateways under pressure from auth bypass and phish-to-session tactics. Cloud-hosted email and automation platforms leveraged for trustworthy-looking lures. Home and small office routers and IoT devices that provide footholds into local networks, healthcare providers managing breach follow-through, and public sector and academia in South Asia facing persistent RAT campaigns. The takeaway: the edges of trust, identity appliances, cloud-generated email, and the home-to-office network boundary are today's fault lines. The immediate question is whether organizations can reduce exposure on long-known weak points faster than attackers can keep exploiting them. That's it for today's edition of the Daily Cyber Brief. Thanks for listening. I'm Blair Blackwell. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not cybersecurity, legal, or financial advice.